Yes.
Sour.
You're good.
Sour.
No, I didn't see something.
Okay. Like to call to order the evening session of the Nelson County Board of Supervisors. For today being the 14th of December. First order of business is public comments. These are comments that are not related to the public hearings to follow. I don't have anyone signed up on the list for public comments, but if anybody present would like to speak during public comment, you are welcome to now. You may come forward. Seeing none, we'll close public comments and move on to the public hearings. So the first is a rezoning, 454 from A1 to B1.
Thank you. This is a request to rezone property from A1 agriculture to B1 business to allow the existing office use to continue and allow opportunity for other commercial uses on the property. At 725 Beach Grove Road in Brimsland in the West District. The property is 4.09 acres owned by Tectonics 2. It's Justin Crandall is here tonight. The parcel is zoned A1. Existing zoning in the vicinity is B1 and A1. It's adjacent to Devil's Backbone Campground. The area is mixed use in nature with a combination of agricultural, residential, and commercial uses. The property did receive a special use permit for retail in 1984. That since expired. Since then, the property has been primarily utilized for commercial office uses. It's currently home to the Tectonics 2 office. They recently moved. They were just up the road there. There are no development plans as part of this request. It's accessed by an existing entrance on Beach Grove Road. Any future expansions or development will require review of the existing entrance, but no upgrades or modifications are required at this time. Served by existing utilities. There were no proffers submitted with the application, and at their meeting on November 17th, the Planning Commission voted 4-0 to recommend approval of this to the Board of Supervisors. And as always, a reminder, the factors that rezoning should be based on are good zoning practice, public necessity, general welfare, and convenience.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions for Ms. Bishop? I believe the applicant is here.
Yeah.
If you have anything you'd like to say on your behalf, we'd love to hear what you have to say.
I mean, Dylan pretty well covered it, but just a little more context in case nobody knows of the property. We've been up Beach Grove for about 35 years. Had this property for about 25 years or so, 20 years. Recently moved there, it just better served our business. It's my purpose to pretty much be there forever, hopefully. As long as we can stay in business, we'll be there. And I think it would better serve to switch it to B1 instead of going for another SUP. I've dealt with those before, and like the previous one, it's already expired. Property's been a business forever. It was the old Glen Mary nursery building. I think Waynesboro Nursery had it for a while. Then it was rented out to some real estate people. And then also Wintergreen Nature Foundation still uses the greenhouse on the property. So right now we've been utilizing it for close to a year. We have a storage barn there, use it as staging for equipment, materials that we need to move around, and all of that good stuff. So reason I want to go to B1 is I have no idea what I need down the road. If I need another barn for storage, more office space, I just don't know that right now. So it seems like it might be complicated to go the SUP route and update it if I should need additional space. Any questions?
Thank you, Mr. Crandall.
Okay. Easier planning.
Okay, I will open the public hearing on rezoning 454 A1 to B1. I would read the procedures for a public hearing, but I think that if anyone was here to speak, they would be here. I'm going to close the public hearing. And ask what is the pleasure of the board.
That should be Mr. Paul.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve rezoning request number 454 A1B1 for 725 Beach Grove Road.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Only discussion is that I was living on Beach Grove Road when Glen Mary was there, and I was not at the Planning Commission meeting when you came in front of the Planning Commission. I was not able to attend, but I just wanted to say Godspeed.
Thank you.
Okay, you have a vote?
Mr. Harvey?
Yes.
Mr. Barton?
Yes.
Mr. Carr?
Yes.
Mr. Rutherford?
Yes.
Mr. Reed?
Yes.
That's simple.
Yeah,
Thanks for coming.
yeah.
This is a lot of fun. Do you want to stick around just to feel like we have public?
I'm gonna try to go help put kids to bed. So,
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Take care.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Okay, our next item is an amendment to the county code, chapter 2, ordinance about voting districts.
So this is a required public hearing to reestablish the county's election districts following the 2020 census. The board's previously seen this subject presented a few times. We thought we had a hiccup earlier this morning, but Mr. Rutherford interceded on our behalf with appropriate people in Richmond. So we think that we can proceed, the board can proceed with the reestablishment of the districts as you previously determined, which we're going to put up there now. And,
I'll comment on that when you're ready.
and so we're in a public comment period, but within that period, the board can have the public hearing tonight, but we cannot act on the ordinance until the January session. Just a slight reminder, I think we moved 120 people from the central district across the road on 29 into the east district, and that's what to maintain. Subject to any decisions the board would make to alter that.
Right. All right, so one of the contradictions that we have with Nelson County and the Supreme Court is they are including entire voting precincts. So for example, Nelson County, once again, and this isn't finalized, currently these are only draft maps. So we are not dealing with law, we are dealing with contingent line changes. So if you look up there at Afton, Faber, and Schuyler are going to be in what I think it's the 53rd House district seat, which will be all of Albemarle and Charlottesville. So instead of being cut by 151, we're now going to be cut by those entire voting precincts. That's what's suggested. Now, what I suspect will end up happening is either all of Nelson County be thrown into the 53rd, other pieces will be thrown into the 53rd. It's still a draft map. But what we have to do as a board, from some of the folks I've spoken to up in Richmond and whatnot, was that these maps aren't finalized, so it's not law. They also can't tell us to contradict law. So we have to make adjustments to the Faber and or Nelly's Ford precincts. They can't look at us and say, no, you can't change it because now all those people voting in this House district, no, they have to change with us. So what we need to do after this meeting is she's going to send a notice. We also need to get a notice about this voting change. And we also need to get Jackie, while I'm thinking about it, to do the same thing. And she can point out the exact number of people and whatever voting census blocks that is. And so can Susan to master special or special masters, whatever they're called. So at this time, it is our job now, and then the Supreme Court could find themselves doing something completely different. So everything's contingent. So we as a board need to move forward in the correction of actions to follow the law that the state has given us. So I wouldn't worry about it. I ain't worried about it. We just need to give them the heads up. By the way, you might need to include either another precinct or find yourself going to a different precinct completely. And it's going to be important that we give them that info before they start doing their drafts.
So if I may, just real quickly, and Susan, Jesse can elaborate, but the state's line is drawn by the Supreme Court. It's different than the counties as we've drawn up here. And what that would do is, because the county would still have two House of Delegates districts. You put people over into the East District from the Central, those people would still be required to vote in the,
Livingston precinct.
well, in the other precinct,
Oh,
the
the-
West precinct.
yeah.
Instead of the precinct on,
Yeah,
that would be Livingston, or the district that would encompass Livingston, this side of the county.
Right.
But as Mr. Rutherford related to us earlier, seemingly the board can go ahead, conduct the public hearing as is, and unless something happens
Yeah.
between now and January, adopt the plan as
Yeah.
presently conceived.
so what?
You made a comment that I didn't quite get. You said that the way that we've been redistricted
Yeah.
is the north, the east, and the central district are gonna be part of Albemarle?
Yes,
That's
yes.
that.
Yeah, I was gonna point out,
Susan
yeah,
can
those three.
explain it to you. See the
Or
John
state
A.
election.
Go ahead.
For the state election. So you said, but in the end, they're probably gonna put.
They're probably gonna, but we don't know. That's the problem we've run into with the entire map process with the state this census year, is they've contradicted themselves probably 5 to a dozen times.
So this is really quite different than what exists now. where we're
The state maps are about to be dramatically different.
The valley and, you know.
We won't be any valley politics anymore.
Will be what?
We will not be part of the valley on any map, more than likely.
Albemarle and Louisa, right?
Yeah, and so one of the other issues you have is Louisa also has a huge population change, so their maps are changing as well. We're not the only ones that are experiencing. There are some governments, localities that are adding voting entirely new positions. So they have issues with that as well. So they understand these are coming. And that's one of the reasons why they're probably not gonna vote on this until the middle of January, is to see how those changes look.
Is
Yeah,
there,
if I can, real quick, or go ahead.
Right.
I was just gonna, for Mr. Barton, basically, this blue line that runs here is the existing line.
Yeah.
For the current state house districts. The change that we made is in this area here. Well, actually, their line goes here. We're proposing to move it here. So we weren't conforming to their districts, and that was the only spot if we
Sure.
did what we originally proposed to do. But Jesse says that we really don't have to worry about that, because if we go ahead and adopt our lines and notify them, they'll have to
Right.
follow suit with their boundary.
Conform to us.
Yes, they have to conform, because you remember, the map that we're talking about is a draft map.
Right.
So the Supreme Court hasn't made any edits whatsoever.
is there a scenario under which we would have to have another public hearing and tonight's would not?
Potentially. That's it, but the Supreme Court,
We'll have to determine that. We discussed that earlier, but to be determined. Hopefully not.
it's very unlikely.
Seems like that would throw us out if we had to do another 45-day
Yeah.
comment period followed by, same schedule that we've done for this public hearing.
But it could happen.
It could be a scenario. I think what the Supreme Court can't do is make us contradict state law. We are doing everything state law has told us to do and conforming to the percentages that we need to conform to. So, I mean, in January, if they all of a sudden say, no, you have to do it this, that, and the other, well, they also need to justify their new rules. Because in that case, you would be over the limit that you're legally allowed to have. So,
But how can you tell the electoral districts?
to see that blue line through the middle, that's headed towards Albemarle, and the one in Livingston heads all the way to Bedford.
I'm not worried about that. I'm talking about our districts within the county,
The new ones,
the new ones.
and I can try to pull those up.
Now, the North District, I know, is not gonna change to mount anything.
Right.
But now the Nellis Forward and is it Faber, that together?
We already voted to make that change, Tommy. That's Woods Mill. So we're putting Woods Mill into the East
Right.
District.
But the line between Nelly's Ford and Faber is not going to change.
No.
Right, and from the state standpoint, the line that we currently have, they use that line
Yeah.
moving forward to again have Nelson as a split locality between I think they call them the 53rd and the 55th.
Something like that.
Right.
Now, where does that lower part of the North District, give me the dimensional, where's it at?
You're talking about
I
Laurel,
remember Berry Hill, Truslows Lane, I think, maybe.
Yeah,
You talk about the little, kind of a little tail at the bottom in the north.
Tommy, all of your people will be voting for the whatever delegate out of Charlottesville.
I'm not worried about the delegates.
Okay.
I'm just talking about the local.
You'll be fine. You're the same.
That's
You-
what
You won't change.
You're essentially the same.
You're the same. You're not changing.
There's 120 people in that Woods Mill area moving from central to east.
Yep.
across the
That's it.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, let us commence with the public hearing. We'll open the public hearing on amending the Nelson County Code concerning election districts. Anyone would like to speak at the public hearing? Since I have no one signed up, you can come now. Since no one is present, I will close the public hearing. And since we're not taking action on this tonight, we can move on to the next point, which is an amendment to the code concerning the repeal of Ordinance 2021 approving formation of the Blue Ridge Sewer and Tax Board.
Now, this is simply to repeal, as Mr. Reed said, ordinance 02107, which established, the board approved in November, I think, to provide for the establishment of the Regional Cigarette Tax Board. As you know, well, it may have been October. But then the board subsequently decided not to proceed with the cigarette tax and directed the staff to give notice of the county leaving the regional board, the regional entity. So procedurally, your next step is to repeal that previous ordinance, and this is what this ordinance provides for. Questions?
Ms. Carter? So I would like to open the public hearing to amend the code of Nelson County and to repeal ordinance 2021-07. Anyone wishing to speak at the public hearing, please come forward. Close the public hearing.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we,
Always look at you, Jesse.
I know. One day I'm just gonna say no. Mr. Chairman, I move that we, repeal the, approved ordinance 2021-11.
Second.
Dash 07.
07.
No.
11.
Mr. Chairman, I
Oh,
move we
repealing
approve
07?
ordinance 2021-11, Nelson County Board of Supervisors repeal of ordinance 2021-07 is what
Gotcha.
Jesse said.
Gotcha.
Second.
Okay, thanks, David. I apologize for my confusion. Any further discussion?
Mr. Carr?
Yes.
Mr. Rutherford?
Yes.
Mr. Harvey?
Yes,
Mr. Barton?
Yes.
Mr. Reed?
Yes.
Where are all the people that were so upset about it the first time? They should be
We got
happy
voted
now.
for it, actually, your mistake.
Any other business to do this evening? If seeing none, hearing none,
I mean, I thought there was something else we need to do.
I do have a question, while you're thinking about that. Do we have any updates on the two Verizon towers for the West District, the Piney River and the Jonesboro Tower? Nothing?
We'll have to check.
I mean, it's my understanding that one of them got postponed until next year, but funding got postponed. But I don't know which one it was.
We'll have to check. I don't know.
If we could get a list of what ones they're proposing in the next 5 years or so versus
This was fun.
we went to a lot of trouble to get kind of river and change for them, and we expect them to do something pretty quickly.
All right.
Looking for a motion.
Mr. Chairman,
Oh, Jesse.
I know, it's original. I move we adjourn.
Second?
Mr. Barton?
Yes.
Mr. Harvey?
Yes.
Mr. Carr?
Yes.
Mr. Rutherford?
Yes.
Mr. Reed?
Yes.
Merry Christmas and happy holidays.
Jesse,
Yeah.
what are you gonna do for motions next